I'm Harry Rogers, and this is Class of the Past, the only place to come for in-depth interviews with former Luton Town players. Now, I know it's been a while, but tracking down these former players is no easy task, but hopefully you'll still enjoy these episodes as and when they come. This time I spoke to former defender Tim Breacker, a player who spent his whole Luton career in the top flight. Tim told me about his memories from the 1987-88 season, where he played every single match possible, which also included that famous afternoon at Wembley in the Littlewoods Cup final. We also discussed the ugly scenes of the 1985 FA Cup quarter-final, as well as his famous goal away at Derby County, which contributed to staying up on the last day of the season in 1990. As always, thank you for the support, and don't forget to follow Class of the Past on social media to be the first to know who we've got coming up soon. But for now, we're back with Breacker. So how are you doing anyway, Tim?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good, yeah. Keep myself busy out and about. Been to a motor show today, believe it or not.
Boy, what are you up to these days anyway? Are you still in football?
I'm not. I haven't been for a year or two now. After COVID, really, that was my last job. That was at Sunderland. So yeah, more than that ago. That was with Phil Parkinson. I worked with a few clubs, but no, since then, nothing in terms of a proper concrete job. So I've just been trying to get out and about and doing stuff that I couldn't do, because I think I went into football from school really, and this is the first break I've ever had. I was lucky enough when I finished playing, I went straight into coaching, and then I've gone from one coaching job to another, then scouting, from one scouting job to another. And the season's long enough when you're playing, but when you're on the other side, it's even longer. You know, when you're a coach, when you're a scout, especially, because that time between the end of the season and the start of the new season, you're as busy as any other time, you know, because the windows are open and what have you. So it's full on. So I'm enjoying a bit of a step away from it, if you like.
Looking at your coaching side before we talk about your playing time, do you think you could have cut it in this day and age?
Even as a scout, you watch a lot of under 21s, then under 23s it went to. And I think the ones I feel for now are the ones who are sort of get to 21, 22, 23, and then they don't make it. And it's quite a hard thing to cope with in terms of mentally as much as anything. And when you think about it, they especially now, they've been involved in football, you know, when they're young school kids, it's been their life. They've, you know, like I did, dreamt about being a player. And it's not happened for them, but now they're in their 20s, and the only thing they've really known is football. So it's quite hard to to mentally cope with that, I think. And that's, in our day, the difference was every year you were sort of on your toes thinking, if I don't make it, I'm out. And then you went along, but even if you got rejected at, say, 17, 18, you had another chance for another career in another sort of completely different environment. You could still play football for the enjoyment, but I think now it's so hard to cope with the rejection that they actually go out of the game, which is really sad, and they fall out of love with the game, which I fully understand, but I think it's quite sad, really. Very different. In our day, we were literally, I actually played for Luton's reserves when I was at school, and I think most of the group of apprentices that I was amongst, they sort of got you on the bench for the reserves and put you on, and this was when I was 15, just to see if you could cope with playing with men. Whereas nowadays they can be 20, 21 playing with just other 20, 21-year-olds, and the loan system was fantastic for helping them get on the next step, if you like. But even that's with the windows, and that's made that harder for clubs who are loaning and loaning out. It's made it harder.
You were one of the lucky ones, to take me back to 1983 then. Young lads, still, you mentioned there as a 15-year-old, in the reserves. What was it like at that age, fresh out of school and at the club that, was down the road?
Mm-hmm. Oh, amazing! You know, you sort of, like I said before, you sort of thinking, oh, can I actually, when you're playing in the youth team, can I actually get an apprenticeship? You know, and then I was sort of, in my dad's words, penciled in for an apprenticeship. But he was like, well, if you don't get your O levels that you should get, in other words, if you flunk out of school, you got to retake them. So in other words, you won't be going. So I was like, oh, like, okay, better get my head down and do well at the exams and do okay. So then went along to Luton, and you know, my birthday wasn't until July, so I was sort of just 16 really. And it's another world altogether, but fantastic. Loved every minute of it.
I was just going to say, you know, what kind of players were there at that time for you that maybe you looked up to from a young age?
I was lucky that team of 80-81 that got promoted. I sort of was an apprentice around that time. I mean, my players were David Moss, Mick Saxby, and Mark Hazelwood. They're the ones that I remember. I was in charge of those three. I was their sort of boot boy, if you like. You know, there was unbelievable characters in the dressing room: Brian Orton, Ricky Hill, Brian Steen, Mal Donaghy. The list goes on. Unbelievable, fantastic pros, great lads, great, you know, camaraderie between them. And then you know, you're just in awe of it that you were sort of allowed to go in the dressing room on you know, to make the tea for them, sort of thing, you know. And then on a Saturday, you'd be out on the pitch at half time. If you had a home youth team game, you were putting the divots back. And you know, in front of it was just amazing. It was amazing. Like I say, loved every minute of it, and very lucky, you know.
You didn't get anything wrong then? You didn't get any trouble for you know, not cleaning the boots right or not making the cup of tea?
Probably, yeah, probably. I can't remember. I remember loads of things we had to do, and like that, like going back to what you said before about the nowadays, they're not allowed to do, but they were character sort of building in some ways. I remember clearing snow off the pitch, clearing stones off the training ground, you know, hanging up, you know, sorting out the players' kits, being responsible for their boots, making drinks for them, make sure they got everything for them, but you know, and then they would be, you know, not letting you get too big for your boots, if you like, or so it was great to mix with those pros. And you know, no matter how much a coach, or I suppose it's like any teaching environment, no matter how much you say to a younger player, if they see an older player, you know, a senior player, then go and watch on a Saturday doing these things, it's, you know, that's powerful, you know. I just feel now they're a little bit, you have this scenario, and I get why they do it, but where you've got you team over that side, first team over that side, and they don't even see each other. And that's been going for a long time. And I think it's a shame. You pick up more from those senior pros than, like I say, anything that any coach can say to you. They tell you, and you take it on board. But when you see, you know, your idol, Ricky Hill, for me, was like unbelievable player and gentleman and a person. And then you saw him, you know, give you a little tip or something about something, or you know, just a word you hear, and it was so powerful. And you think, wow, he made it look so easy, but underneath, no, it's not that easy. You know, there's a lot of work goes into it, a lot of mental preparation and physical preparation, and you know, you can't. There's no shortcuts. You can't, even though they look like they just woke up one day and they're the best footballer in the world. They're not. There's a lot of work goes into it, a lot of mental preparation, like I say, and that was. I was very lucky to be around an environment and Luton where there was some amazing, obviously the manager and the coaches and some amazing senior pros, all of them brilliant, and they loved helping you as well, which was great because they see your enthusiasm, same as I did when I was a senior pro. You see the younger player and you get a kick out of helping them as well, you know. So yeah, I was very lucky.
And you must have made quite the impression as well, you know, at the age of 18. David Pleat give you your first start. It wasn't the best result. I think it was a 3-0 loss away at Ipswich. But any memories of that day at all?
Yeah. I can remember playing against the Brian Horton, and it was against an Ipswich team that at the time had, they had some stars in there. England players, Terry Butcher, Ottoman, the Dutch guys, Tyson and Muren, Eric Gates, I think Alan Brazil, and I can't remember the exact team, but they were like a Man United at the time, or, they were not in terms of the size of their club, but what they've done in Europe and winning the league under Bobby Robson. So it was an amazing experience, and you just can't believe you're out there, really. But because where the club was in the league, results were important, and obviously then they needed senior players back in again, so I was back out, and then I got a chance again at right back, where I'd never ever played before in my career, not in the youth team, not anywhere, and was thrown straight in first team, and then stayed in that a year or so later. So yeah, all good times.
Did you want to play right back when he moved you?
I just would have played anywhere. I would have done anything to get in the team, and to get. So Trevor Hartley was my reserve team coach, and he worked closely with John Moore, who was my youth team coach. They were both great guys and looked after us and had our best interests. And I think he said to David Pleat, and David Coates was the assistant manager, listen, I think Tim can do it right back, So they just said, you're going in, sort of thing. So I'm like, okay, and there wasn't much in terms of preparation. This was not my debut. I made my debut in midfield. This was later on. And then, and then had senior players around me helping me, talking me through it. Then, you think, I always thought, oh, I'll come out and then I might have a chance in midfield again, but I just stayed in. So I wasn't going to say, oh, by the way, can I play in midfield, So I just stayed there.
And David Pleat is a legend at Luton. What was he like to work under every day? I can imagine he was great around the place.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Encouragement. You were a little bit scared of him in terms of as a younger player, and which was right. It was discipline, and you didn't want to be seen to be doing anything that was wrong. You wanted to make a good impression every time you had a chance to be in front of him and the coaches. And it was great, always encouraging, wanted you to play football in the right ways, and very tactically aware. Back in the time when he sort of set the team up as a 4-3-3, but very sort of loose around that time, in terms of movement and the interchange of positions, which a lot of teams were nowhere near doing that sort of thing. And we were doing that at Luton, and playing two centre forwards, running behind, and a good mixture of three central midfield players, David Priest, Ricky Hill, Peter Nicholas, as some of the time it was them three, and teams who would always played before, or it was more 4-4-2 everywhere. So yeah, he was very tactically aware, and always very always felt you didn't always know what was, this thing about when managers get angry with you, he would do the opposite. When you think, oh no, we've been rubbish, we're going to get a telling off at half time, for want of a better word, then it'd be the opposite. And then when you thought, oh, we've done great, we're going at half time, boss is going to be happy, it was the opposite. You never knew. He had that sort of about him, that aura that you weren't quite sure how he was going to react, or very clever. Yeah, very good, and a good coach. Yeah.
Well, you made a good impression on him, and you also made a good impression with the fans. What's that like playing at Kenilworth Road, when the fans are behind you?
Yeah, it was. I think I might have got this wrong, but with the standing, at Kenilworth Road, and I think there was 20,000 for games there. When it was full, when there was, say, a London club that brought quite a following. And I remember as an apprentice, the atmosphere then was electric. And a small tight ground. There was a bobber stand on the far side where they were right next to you. and it was intimidating for other teams. You think, hold on a minute, like, say Man United coming there, how can that be intimidating for them? But it was, and similar to as it is now compared to some of the stadiums that, the Premier League has got. It's different for them, and they don't know how to cope with it. The same when we had the plastic pitch, a lot of teams were a bit apprehensive of it. But, if they went there thinking, yeah, this is all right, we can play here and forget about the pitch and whatever, they'd have more chance. So, I always felt we had a great atmosphere there. It was right close to you. Obviously, if you weren't doing well, they'd let you know, but that's, sort of enthusiastic crowd is like that anyway. You rather that, But, had some great games there, great games, the Littlewoods Cup semi-finals and things, and amazing atmosphere,
Well, one that stood out for me, maybe not for how the atmosphere, but the Millwall game, 1985. With the crowd trouble there. You were playing that night, and I just thought it'd be interesting to hear kind of what your memories were of that night. And I don't think you've probably ever run off a football pitch so quickly at the full-time whistle. But there were fans on the pitch that night while you're playing the game. Tell me a little bit about that.
It was a surreal day. It was a lot of ways horrendous, but at the end it was quarter final of the FA Cup. It was a massive game, and it was a night game. But we always stayed in hotels on the day of a game, and there were stories coming through in Luton that the place was already being smashed up during the day. So we were sort of almost saying to our families, look, I don't think you should be coming to this game. We didn't even know if the game was going ahead. Then there were stories about the game's got to go ahead because that's the only way that they can get the hooligans, if you like, in one place, that police back up and then sort them out. And then before the game, they were storming the pitch before the game. We're in the dressing room and is this game going to happen? So it was so many things on that day. It was, like I say, surreal. And I remember Les Seeley was the goalkeeper, bless his soul, he's no longer with us, but he was down the end. I remember him falling the ref over, and literally he passed the ref like a big long dagger somebody had launched onto the pitch, and you're thinking, what is going on? It was just crazy. It was crazy. And then they blew the final. The ref was like, we're going to have to, I think Mitchell Thomas, one that I could vividly remember, Mitchell Thomas trying to take a throw in, but he couldn't get close to the line because the police were already on the pitch. So he was backing himself up to the back of the police. So he was already 2-3 yards on the pitch, and the ref was just playing on play on. When the whistle went, we just sprinted to get off.
Yeah.
But in that, and nobody in the ground. I don't think there was very few Luton Town supporters there on such a big sort of occasion. That was a massive shame, and it wasn't. If anyone said to me, and I don't know of any other historically worse game for hooliganism, anywhere in the country, that was as bad as that day, from start to finish, the whole day. The whole, not just one thing, the whole day. It wasn't a great memory, but you have to sort of say, well, we won and we got through. But it was, yeah.
I mean, you were quite young as well at the time, and it must have had a bit of an impact on you. And how do you even concentrate in that environment?
It was really strange. It was really strange. I mean, to be honest, it's when you're a younger player, you think, what's it going to be like with the crowd? But you just do your job and you get on and you try and concentrate on your job and things that there's so much going on in the game anyway. So you don't really stop and think what they're doing over there or what's going on over there. You just concentrating on the next thing that's going to happen in the game rather than the surroundings. You very quickly concentrate on the pitch, the ball, what's happening to your opponent. So that side of it, there was bits of the day that were, like I say, surreal. But when the game was going on, you're just playing the game and you want to win,
Mm. So yeah, I think it was not the following season, but the season after, the 87-88 season. And I'm sure you've spoken about this season in great depth before. Not only to win the Littlewoods Cup, but you turned out, I think, in every fixture that season, you didn't miss a game. You think you were maybe at your best that season?
Possibly. It's amazing because you do go from the old cliche, next game, you do go from one game to the next, and then before you know it, you've got all these games. And I think I played. You've done your homework, obviously, but I think it was something like 58 games. And if the only one game more I could have played would have been the FA Cup final, which we didn't make. But so that season, and I do remember a game very end of the season. I think it was Forest away, and in the warm up, I felt like I'd already played. My legs, I just couldn't get going. What's going on? And that was in the days of hydration. No, you didn't really. That was probably a couple of pints after. There was no real, there was not the backup that they get now and the scientific approach. It was just you went out, trained, played a game. But yeah, it was an amazing season. Shame we didn't get the FA Cup. That would have been great. Missed out on that a few times, but yeah, an amazing season.
FA Cup semi-final, like you say, lost in what was the Simmer Cup final, League Cup final win, 9th place finish in the top flight. That's some year, that some achievement. I know we didn't win, get to the FA Cup final, but to win the League Cup, what do you think it was maybe about that team in particular that did so well that year?
I think you just get in a groove when you're winning, and people know what they're doing. And if you get an injury, it was like for like. There wasn't a wholesale or a suspension or something. People came in, and everybody who came in did a great job. Obviously, when you're winning, it's easier, camaraderie and whatever. It's hard to put your finger on really, but it just clicks sometimes. And like I say, sometimes it's harder when things are going wrong to change, but when they're going well, we just keep going with it. Like I say, you have the odd game doesn't go for you or whatever, but straight away if you're back on it again, it's great when it's like that. It doesn't happen that often, but yeah, it was definitely just that in that flow. Everybody knew what was going on, and to be fair, I know. Debut Pleat had left, but there was a lot of that team was his team, and I think with senior players like Steve Foster, Mal Donaghy, Peter Nicholas, like I mentioned, David Priest, Ricky Hill, Brian Steen, Nick Harford. These players knew what they were doing. And he'd already put that sort of set up into the team and the balance of the team, the whole thing, and it just sort of carried on through from that with Ray Harford putting his bits in there as well. But it must have been a dream for him to take over the team that was already in a groove and let you play sort of thing. So yeah, great times.
So we can't talk and not talk about the Wembley win against Arsenal. Tell me a little bit about that day and maybe from start to finish, what was it like to get to Wembley and, to end up on the right side of the result?
Yeah, we were lucky back then. You never got to Wembley unless you played for England, really. But you mentioned the Simmer Cup, which didn't go well, but it was we'd been to Wembley. The only other time I'd ever been there before was as a fan, watching an FA Cup final, because I got a ticket and I thought, I want to go and watch an England game, as a fan, never as a player. So we had the Simmer Cup, and then there was a centenary tournament as well, which was held at Wembley. So we went to that. So we knew the surroundings a little bit, so that helped, because the likes of your Arsenal's, Man United's at the time might have been there a lot more. I know some had England internationals, so they were used to the surroundings, so that helped a bit. And then because we were underdogs as well, we had nothing to lose. Wanted to enjoy the day out, and obviously it went well for us. But we knew, we had confidence in ourselves that if we had the chance, we could beat anybody, and I mean anybody in the league that year. And a lot of times with that team, we could beat anybody on our day, So and it went well, and things went for us. So yeah, fantastic memories. It goes so quick. And like so, when you're out on the pitch, it's just like another pitch. But you're thinking, well, I'm at Wembley, and the surroundings and 100,000 there. It's just
you're not the first one to say that. I spoke to a different era, but Tom Craddock, who played for us in the Paint Trophy final in 2009. He was saying he wished that he could have someone walking around the pitch with almost like a camera filming him, because he said you don't take it in when you're there.
No, you don't. You get little memories, little flashbacks, and I think I've never watched the game, even though somewhere I've got it on. It's probably on YouTube or something, but I've never watched the game. That was the way it was. You didn't. I don't know if players nowadays do, but you didn't watch it, even though you could get a copy of it somewhere. You just got on with the next. You didn't sort of analyse your performance that much. But something like you say, the memories of one of my biggest memories of the day was when we scored the winning goal, and I was right next to Mal Donaghy on the halfway line, and the ref came back towards the halfway line. We were celebrating, thinking, right, we need to shut up shop here and don't concede. And we said to the ref, how long? He went, that's it. So we looked at each other and like, really, is that it? Do you know what I mean? It was like, have we won? Or and I think a couple of seconds later he blew the whistle, and obviously then you could celebrate. But your first thing when the third goal went in was, no, we've got to defend. Ref, how long? And I just remember going, no, that's it. And it was that was the first time I thought, wow, we've actually achieved something here,
Yeah. Did you know at the time how big achievement it was, really? Because people are much older than me still look back at that day as like the best day in the club's history.
Yeah. I think to be honest, I think because I was very lucky that the club, like I said, when I got there as an apprentice, it was a great team. Got promoted, stayed up, and then I got into the team, and we'd had the FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park against Everton, and Everton were the team at the time, best team in the country, and we ran them close and nearly got there. So there was a bit of a confidence that it wasn't like a one-off, put it that way. Then we were there the next year as well. So as a young player, you didn't think it was the norm, but you didn't realise that this was going to be the only time you'd ever win a medal as such, So I think maybe for the senior players, it might be, wow, this is the best moment of my career. But I still felt, and I remember John Fulton was one of the coaches, and he was a brilliant guy, another guy who's passed away, but a fantastic guy. And I remember him saying to me, do you realise, afterwards, do you realise? And he said, this could just be the start for you. And I was like, really? It was all just so big, and you just thought, try and stay in the moment. But I was lucky. Like I say, the only one. It was a shame about the FA Cup because that was the dream. But then to do this, we'd have swapped that, and then so 2 semi-finals. I had another one when I was at West Ham semi-final where we didn't quite make it. But you don't think like that. It's hard to sort of go past that, but it depends how old you are and experience at the time. But yeah, great memories anyway.
Many people I've spoken to feel probably most aggrieved at the FA Cup semi-final against Wimbledon, because they really felt like that if you would have won that semi-final, you probably would have gone the whole way and potentially, won the FA Cup that year.
Yeah. It's again, it doesn't sink in until the finals on and Wimbledon are there against Liverpool. And you think, disappointment. It should have been us. Obviously, by then we won the Littlewoods Cup, so that was sort of, the negative of missing out on that was like, no, at least we got that in the background to come, and then obviously we won that. But you sort of think, what if maybe that, the same as the Everton one where they scored late on, took it to extra time. We thought we could have been there, and you think, what if that foul hadn't been given, or what if this, or what if that? And so you do, but like say in football, luckily there's another game. There's another thing to. If it's the last game of the season, it's worse probably, but then you got the next season to think about, and that's how you meant it. You can't dwell too much on the bad, or you can't go too high when it goes well. You still have to try and be level-headed and go to the next thing. So, but I tried to forget about the FA Cup semi-finals until you reminded me today, Harry.
It wasn't to be, but you did play, your whole Luton career in the top flight. So you were playing the big teams on a regular basis. It must be nice also, I guess, looking at the team nowadays as well. They're kind of travelled that long journey from non-league up to where they are now. But it must be great to see, the club kind of doing well again.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, fantastic for the town, for the team, for the club, from where they've been, especially as well. It's it's fantastic. I just pray that they can stay up and then go from there and build and it's for the younger supporters as well who've never seen their team playing against these clubs, top clubs. Amazing. Take it all in, enjoy it, and you're there for a season. Great. If it's longer, great. Do you know what I mean? You have to feel like that, and I'm sure the fans are loving every moment.
I was looking back at your scoring record. Obviously, being a defender, you're not always going to get many goals. But I think you know what I'm going to say. There is one that stands out, I'm sure. That goal, Derby away, 1990, just about stayed up on the last day. What's going through your mind to hit it from there? You're about 35 yards out.
It was just it was a funny sort of, well, not funny. The situation was, and I've said this story before, but I hurt my big toe, believe it or not, underneath my big toe on Boxing Day, and it was like bone bruising, and the only way I could play was have an injection in my toe. So, and in those days as well, sometimes we had the doctor with us, sometimes we didn't. At home games, no problem. The doctor put an injection in my toe and I could play. Anyway, on this day, I don't think he was there, so the Derby doctor gave me the injection and my foot was still numb. It was like, like when you have an injection for a tooth for, at the dentist, it was like that, and the foot was still numb. And I just said to David Priest, was there, another lad who's passed away, bless his soul, and I remember saying to him, do you know what, Priest, I fancy this. And I went, go on then. So I said, God, yeah, and he just knocked it to the side, and then I thought, that's it, I'm just going to hit it. So I just hit it and it flew in, and could have gone anywhere but went in. So yeah.
How many times you got that video clip out of the pub to show people?
I never have. It comes up and people, WhatsApp at me. God, was this real? And is that you? I'm like, yeah, but no, not for me to show that. Why didn't you do that again then? But it was an unbelievable day because we were, not expected to stay up. We'd had a great run towards the end of the season, sort of great escape thing. And even on that last day, we still needed Forest to beat Sheffield Wednesday, and they did. And then it was Sheffield Wednesday instead of us, So yeah, there was a lot of ifs and buts. So it was like with the game really staying up because we were, like I say, we were dead and buried. With a few games to go, we had to win, and we beat Palace at home. And then we thought, oh, still got a chance, but it still had to go. Even if we won, we still had to get the right result from Forest. And like great memories. Like it was like winning another cup, really, in some ways. And I remember Jimmy Ryan was the manager at the time, and him sort of saying to us, like, if you pull this off, you'll never forget it. You'll never, the feeling that you had amongst your group, backs to the wall, and the pressure at that end is far, far greater than it is at the other end of the table, because there's so much more to lose. You're trying to stop losing something rather than winning something, and yeah, we did. We had a great little team spirit, and we had a good party on the way back. Yeah, it was good.
I bet. What's it? How hard is it to keep going when you are down that end of the table? To keep getting back in and be like, right, next week we'll do it. We'll win. How hard is it to mentally just prepare for that?
Yeah, it's tough. I think what happens as well is you get this thing. If the supporters are with you, which they were, if you if you lose the support, then it's very, very hard. But I think teams who suddenly realise, you know what, we're in a relegation fight here. We need to get behind the players, and we need to, they're doing their best, and then you sort of get to that point. Well, it's, we've got nothing to lose now. We've just got to go out and win. Not try and, you just got to go and win, and sort of the shackles are off. Then earlier on in the season, when you're sort of trying to stay above that line, if you like, it's pressure, but then when you're, like say for us at that time, we'd been written off, so the pressure went off us a little bit. It was more on, say, like Sheffield Wednesday on that day, because we had nothing to lose, really. But yeah, it is definitely, I've had it in my career a few times where you're fighting relegation. The pressure is with you for a long time, and it's a relief if you can stay up. At the start of the next season, we were struggling, and then there was rumours about players being sold anyway, and there was rumours about clubs being interested in me. So then I knew, no matter what, we were on. It looks like I'm going to be gone, sort of thing. But yeah, it was strange when you think, yeah, that meant so much to keep the club up, and then I ended up going to West Ham, who were in the division below, where Little in the division above, But, yeah.
Was it? I mean, it must have been difficult because you'd been at Luton since you were 15. You mentioned, going somewhere completely different, new surroundings. How did you find that settling in process when you did go to West Ham?
I was lucky. They were doing well, so it wasn't an immediate thrown straight in. So I had time to sort of fade in, and like I said before, that team at Luton, when it was going well, if they make one change and somebody comes in, it's easier for that one person coming in because there's a flow to the team. And that season was the same at West Ham. The team was going well, almost playing itself, picking itself, and so it wasn't that in that side of it. And the players were fantastic. There was some great characters there, and you'll find that at most clubs. Back then anyway. Everyone's been in the same boat. New player, they try and do the best to make you feel comfortable, feel at home. The staff, fans were good. Everything. It very much like Luton in terms of a family atmosphere, family club, staff behind the scenes, good people. So yeah, that, apart from the moving house and stuff like that, which, that's part of it. Yeah, it was quite easy, put it that way.
And, a lot of ex-players I talk to, they always talk so fondly about Luton. And I think you mentioned it there about, that family aspect. Good people. Is that what makes Luton, special? It was a big part of your life and probably still is. What is it about Luton that is so special for you?
Yeah, it's that, the feeling, like I say, it's the family feeling of, and luckily in those days as well, you had staff who stayed for years, more than players. It doesn't happen so much now. Staff changes a lot quicker, but from George Rogers, the kit man, through to Jim, the coach driver. Do you know what I mean? These people who've been there, like really washing the kit. There was all these people who've been there for donkey's years, and they helped you through as well. And in the ticket office, in the offices, people are still probably there now. Do you know what I mean? These people, there was a great feeling amongst that, and I think as well because we trained at the ground, that made it even better because you were going to the ground every day, so you were mixing with everybody, from the club shop, everybody. You'd see these people and speak to them on a day-to-day sort of basis, really. So it made it, they'd always be encouraging you if things weren't going right, and it just felt like a big family. And that's how I went there from school and went into digs and stuff. So it was a big thing for me at that time, but people couldn't have helped me anymore. I was, like I said, very lucky. The senior pros, people look out for you. My youth team manager, John Moore, he was brilliant. Dick the groundsman was great, believe it or not. These people there they see you with a young lad, come just left home sort of thing, and they look out for you. And it's good memories, and like I say, family atmosphere, and I'm sure it's still got that feel to it now. I'm sure it has.
What would you say maybe is your Luton Town highlight, excluding the League Cup and maybe Derby as well, staying up on the last day? Is there a particular moment or game or person even? What stands out for you?
Good question. I think you're just appreciative of the people you're around, and like I say, my youth team manager, John Moore, amazing, great. Football technical stuff was a part of it, but also the morals of as a human being, as a young person. Those sort of things that put you in good stead in your life. Do you know what I mean? Things like that, they mean a lot. From David Pleat down through the coaching staff to the players and those things. So, but behaviour, things that are unacceptable don't happen. Because the whole group sorts it out. It's not, you never have problems at all. It's just camaraderie and everybody pushing in the right direction. Obviously, you're against some of your other players, your friends, if you like, because you want to get in the team, but they all know that and wish you all the best, and then hopefully it's them next time. So more the people, that's the thing that I would remember, the people as much as the games. You remember your debut and games at Kenilworth Road. And my one nightmare that I have is I never scored at Kenilworth Road, and I can picture this time. It was against Wimbledon, and the ball come over. It was on the plastic pitch, and I controlled it, open goal, and I put my leg up quite high to control the ball, and as my foot come down, the ball controlled well, just about to slot it in. My legs crossed over, and I fell on the floor, and in front of an open goal. I can remember that. I've never seen a picture of it. It's just in my memory. I think, did that really happen? And I never scored it. I never scored at Kenilworth Road. So yeah.
Oh well,
comes to mind.
Well, Tim, it's been great to listen to some of your stories and find out a bit more about your time at Luton. Before I let you go, I always close these interviews with the same question for everyone. So if I was to put your picture in a big scrapbook of Luton players, what do you hope it would say about you, and what do you personally think you brought the club?
Oh, what would it say about me? Just that I enjoyed my time there immensely, and hopefully that came over to the supporters, the players I played with. I give everything I had to try and do my best, and if it wasn't, didn't quite do it, then it wasn't through lack of trying. I always tried and always worked on the game and tried to be a good professional and a good person, and hopefully that came over.
That's brilliant. That's a nice place to leave it. Thanks so much for your time, Tim.
That's right, Harry.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.